This person saw something of yours today and froze. It was just an image, a phrase, a memory that shouldn't hurt anymore, but it did. This person tried to get through the day as if nothing had happened, but you still reside in places they can't erase. You still intrude, still stir things up, still bring everything to a halt. This person didn't tell you, didn't share with anyone, but felt it. Their body was there, pretending to be normal, but their mind went to another time, to when you were real, to when the touch still existed. This person realized that they still feel, that they haven't moved on, that it's still you, even without a message, even without a presence, even without a return. You're still a noise in the background of their chest, a name that hurts when it slips out, a silence that weighs heavy. There was nothing planned, no emotional preparation, and there was no you, at least not visibly. But still, you showed up. Not in the expected way, not as a presence, but as a shard. And this person, who spent the last few months trying to rebuild their foundation, realized that the base was still yours. It happened in a second, a ridiculous fragment of time, almost imperceptible but real, and that was enough. You appeared in a detail, didn't shout, didn't call out, but scattered everything. It was an image, perhaps, a forgotten photo, one of those that the phone revives without permission, or it could have been a phrase. One of those you used to say carelessly, but today carries the entire weight of longing, or maybe a scent. That shouldn't have an effect anymore, but did. This person froze inside, and on the outside, pretended, tried to keep going as if the day was still viable, as if the work hadn't been interrupted, as if the commitment still made sense, as if their eyes hadn't been fixed on nowhere. But they were, and they were fixed on you, and then everything this person had fought so hard to stabilize shattered, because what you left behind was not just absence. It was a structural failure. It was an unresolved presence. It was an echo. You can't call it longing. It's something more intimate, more silent, more cruel, because it's not just lack. It's realizing that you still take up space even when you're not here, even when you're not speaking, even with no intention at all. This person didn't say anything. They didn't share with anyone. They didn't write about it. They didn't cry. They just felt a knot in their chest they couldn't untie, a silence they didn't know where to place, a strange urge to write to you and then erase it. It was in that moment that everything became clear. What they thought was resolved was merely hidden. What they believed was settled was only asleep. You didn't leave. You just became invisible. And there's a cruel difference between forgetting and hiding. This person realized that they hid you, to function, to continue, to survive. But today, seeing something of yours, all that had been numbed came back to life. And once again, doubt imposed itself. Will this ever pass? Because it isn't normal to lose breath over someone who's no longer here. It's unreasonable to pause life for a trace. It's not fair to have to fight so hard against something that should have ended long ago. But did it end? This person realized that it hadn't. They still feel, they still react, they still break, even in silence, even while pretending to be fine, even while denying everything to themselves. You became a secret, one of those that no one knows exists, yet it affects everything. It affects their mood, it affects their choices, it affects the way this person now views the world. Because after you, nothing was left whole, and what remained never became simple again. And no matter how hard this person tries, they can't forget the details. The way you smiled when you wanted to hide something, the specific words you used when you tried to calm, the way you disappeared when confronted with your own depth. These details come back, not every day, but when least expected. Every time they return, they take something that was still standing. This person didn't want that. They didn't choose to feel this way. They don't nourish nostalgia. They don't cultivate memories, but you stayed. And you stayed in a place that isn't accessed with control. You stayed in dreams, in pauses of thought, in moments when everything seems fine. And that's when it hurts the most. Because it's not the active suffering that destroys. It's that passive memory, that absence that acts on its own. That autonomous memory that doesn't give a warning. And every time this happens, This person realizes again it doesn't matter the time, it doesn't matter the distance, it doesn't matter what came after. You are still a thread that runs through the heart. It's not drama. It's a confirmation. It's not an exaggeration. It's a realization. This person doesn't romanticize the past. They don't long for what no longer makes sense. But they also don't lie to themselves. And today, it was impossible to lie. You returned, even without wanting to, even without knowing. And this return changed the course of an entire day. Maybe it will change more, maybe it will change everything. Because some presences, even in the form of memory, still carry the weight of reality, of history, of an imprint. And this person carries yours, even without having anywhere else to place it. So don't be fooled. Don't think it was just another ordinary memory. It was more than that. It was an old wound saying that it still bleeds. It was the past proving that it still breathes. It was the unresolved love asking to be felt. One last time. Or maybe just one more. Because it's not just the memory that hurts. It's what it reveals. It's what it activates. It's what it lays bare without asking for permission. This person, the same one who held on tightly until now, spent the rest of the day functioning on autopilot. They did what needed to be done. They responded to what they had to respond to. They fulfilled obligations. But they weren't really there. They were lost among internal images, flashes that can't be erased, feelings that time tried to swallow, but couldn't. And you were there, present as a living absence, hidden yet perceptible in every space of silence. Maybe you don't even know what you left behind, or maybe you do, and you've just pretended to forget. But what this person experienced today wasn't just nostalgia. It was internal relapse, it was a breach of defenses, it was an emotional fall that no one saw. It happens like that, right? In the middle of an ordinary day, in the most unpredictable moment, without logic, without pattern, and when you least expect it, you return, not with words, not with pleas, but with weight. The weight of everything that was left unaddressed, the weight of everything that was interrupted, the weight of everything this person still carries, without understanding why. You never truly left, and that's the hardest part to accept, because the world demands that we keep going, that we forget, that we move on, that we pretend we don't feel anymore. But what about when you still feel, and when everything inside your chest still responds to your name? This person realized, once again, that you are not just a memory. You are an emotional reference, a fixed point, a before and after. Because nothing has felt light since you left. Nothing has felt deep in the same way. Nothing has touched with the same truth. And no matter how many other names have passed, no matter how many other touches have happened, no matter how many other stories have tried to fill the void, you're still here. Not as a presence, but as a mark. And that no one sees. Because this person learned to hide, to smile through the pain, to silence what screams, to pretend that they don't feel. But today was different. Today something broke this internal pact. Today this person realized that pain doesn't accept censorship. Today it was impossible to hold back. And it's in these moments that the truth comes. You still matter. Even if you shouldn't. Even if it hurt. Even if everything went wrong, still, it matters. Because some bonds are built in a layer where time can't reach. Because there are memories that don't fade. There are sensations the body remembers, even when the mind tries to forget. And the body remembered you today. The heart raced without warning. The breath lost its rhythm. The gaze became vacant. The soul became exposed. This person didn't want this anymore. They weren't expecting this anymore. They thought they were already in a different place. But they came back. You pulled them in without even knowing, and they realized there's still something there. No one knows what. No one understands how. But it's there. And the strangest part is that while it hurts, it also calms. Because you're still home. Even if it's an abandoned home, you're still a presence. Even in absence, you're still truth, even after everything. This person is exhausted from feeling this. But they can't escape, because you can't run from something that lives inside. The pain remains, and no one teaches what to do with it. They just say to move on, to make space for the new, To accept what was. But accept what? Accept that you've become a memory in someone who still feels. Accept that the moments that felt eternal are now just scattered memories. Accept that the love that existed has nowhere to reside anymore. This person tries to accept every single day, but there are times when accepting feels more like swallowing, like pretending nothing is happening inside, like smiling on the outside and silencing the inside, and that's how they survived, by staying silent. Do you realize what this means? It's surviving, not living. Because since you left, this person just functions. They do what needs to be done, they respond, they work, they fulfill, but do they live? Living truly. Stop the day they felt you wouldn't come back. And today, when something of yours resurfaced, all of this bubbled back up, once again, in a way that can't be controlled or explained, because it doesn't make sense to love someone who is no longer here. But it happens. There's no way to justify the pain of something that has already passed. But it persists. And the cruelest part is that this person can't share this with anyone, because the world moves too fast for someone who feels slowly, and they feel you slowly, with memory, with pauses, with details, with everything you left behind that you might not even know. There are days when she almost manages to forget. Almost. But there's always something that brings you back. A conversation between strangers. A familiar gesture. A place you both shared. There's always something that calls her name, without speaking. And when that happens, everything inside her listens. You are still an echo. Even when no one talks about you. Even when she herself tries to avoid your name. This person has realized that the body has memory, that the soul recognizes what once was true. And no matter how much her mind says it's over, the body still responds to the touch that doesn't come. The heart still responds to the name it doesn't hear. The gaze still searches for what is no longer there. It's exhausting to feel this way, but the worst part isn't feeling. The worst part is not being able to say that she feels, because everyone expects her to have moved on. Everyone is bothered by what doesn't fade. But how can one move on from something that still pulses? You've become a time trapped inside her, a time that doesn't progress, doesn't go back, just stays. And every time you show up again, this person breaks into invisible pieces, and nobody sees, but she feels, with intensity, with anguish, with that kind of love that no longer asks to be reciprocated, just to be understood. Comment here if you've ever felt this way, alone amidst the nostalgia that no one validates. Do you realize now what you caused? Not with guilt, but with truth, because there are things that cannot be undone, even when the relationship ends, even when the bodies part, even when life goes on. And the thing that lingered between you, it's still there, present, thick, latent. Even if the world says otherwise, this person carries that, sometimes with shame, with anger towards herself, with fear of never being able to feel something so real again. But it is real, it was, it still is, and maybe it always will be. There's no need to understand, or try to rationalize, or think if it should have been different. You just need to acknowledge, accept that this connection still exists, even in silence, even in absence, even in memory. This person isn't asking for anything, not for explanations, not for presents, not for a return. They're just feeling, and allowing themselves to notice, noticing that absence has a scent, it has a rhythm, it has a name, yours. If this touched you, comment, "I needed to hear this." Leave your like now before the silence convinces you that you didn't feel anything. And subscribe to the channel, because there are things that only those who truly feel can understand. Now breathe. And answer me honestly. Have you ever felt this for someone who no longer knows that you feel? That kind of pain we don't share with anyone, that we swallow hard and that always comes back when it shouldn't, because the truth is that the world demands urgency. It demands detachment. It demands a kind of strength that doesn't respect the soul's timing. But not here. Here you can feel at your own pace. Here you don't need to hide that you still miss them, that you still remember, that you still break. It's not weakness, it's just the body trying to say that there's something that still matters. Even if no one sees, even if no one understands. Do you notice this? It's your truth trying to survive within a routine that pretends everything is fine. It's your heart remembering something that still beats, even when everyone expects you to have moved on. But moved on to where, if everything inside is still here? If the days pass, but some things remain? If absence has turned into a kind of invisible presence that accompanies you? It's cruel, but it's real, and that's why this video exists. To remind you that what you feel isn't an exaggeration. It's not drama, it's not neediness. It's just an old echo asking to be heard. It's a part of you that hasn't found a place to rest. Maybe you're tired of carrying this silently, of functioning on the outside while crumbling inside, of living with the feeling that you feel too much, while the rest of the world feels too little. But I'm here to tell you, you're not wrong for feeling. You are just one of the few who can still see what matters, even when it's already gone, even when it never comes back. And there are more people like you, people who feel in secret, who love in silence, who carry memories that no one else remembers. So comment here. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. Finish this sentence. Being me with all this intensity is because when you share, you start to heal. And if this video has touched you inside, share it with someone who also needs that kind of validated silence. Maybe you'll save a day. Maybe you'll spark a memory that still deserves care.